Well, hello. Welcome back to another live stream. Getting everything all set here. I want to do preview mode. How do I do that? That's what I wanted. Okay. So I have that. This is the recording, backup recording of my live stream for Monday, July 28th, 2025. And let's see here. It is currently 1:30. We'll just type in here at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we are now live. I want to make sure my email just went out to my community. I just sent an email to everyone. And it says your email broadcast is being sent. So it has not yet been sent. If you happen to be out there streaming live, seeing me live, you can join me over at cliffravenscraft.com/join. I happen to have a Zoom meeting open. I am here to be of any support and encouragement to you. You can ask me anything. That is the purpose of this session, and it looks like my email did finally just send. Let's see what this email says. I'm going to read it to you. It'll be a way that I can even announce to you here on the live stream or the replay for those of you who happen to be watching the replay. I'm wondering what this shadow is right here. I think it's made up. I think it's a Apple induced shadow for some reason because there's nothing there. It's totally made up. Anyway, doesn't matter. Registration now open. Free the Dream Workshop. And it says in the email, there's a part of you that's still waiting to be lived, but it's there. Oh, I'm sorry. It says, you may not hear it every day, but it's there. The whisper beneath the voice, the nudge that says there's more. Stephanie and I have created a space for you to finally listen to that voice. It's called the Free the Dream Workshop. And it's happening Friday and Saturday, August 29th and 30th, 2025 in Hebron, Kentucky, just 15 minutes from downtown Cincinnati and only 3 miles from the CVG airport. This is a 2-day experience to step out of your routine, clear the noise, uncover what's next, and remember the part of you that's still wanting to be expressed in this life. For the first time ever, we're offering this as a pay what you want event. No fixed price, no minimum, just resonance and trust. We're keeping this gathering intentionally small, limited to 50 attendees, so the experience can be intimate, real, and deeply personal. If you've been carrying questions, if you've been holding back, if you've been feeling the pull, now is the time, or actually says this is the time. Learn more and register here. freethedreamworkshop.com. Again, freethedreamworkshop.com. I would be honored to share this space with you. With anticipation, Cliff. And then it says, P.S. I'll be live streaming today, Tuesday, and Friday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, or 1 p.m. each day. I didn't actually say Eastern time. Whoops. Anyway, come ask me anything at cliffravenscraft.com/join. That was the P.S. message. Anyway, yeah, Free the Dream Workshop. Super excited about that. And what I love about it, I wasn't going to do any kind of sales page at all, but there are some frequently asked questions that I think are important to understand rather than just having everybody to email me. You can just get the most frequently asked questions, the answers to them right there on that little simple page. There we go, freethedreamworkshop.com. Alrighty, so here's the situation. Last Monday, I did a live stream. It was the first time I've ever hosted a live stream. Ask me anything. 0 people joined me on the invitation to join me via Zoom and ask me a question. There is nothing wrong with that. I figure, okay, maybe Mondays aren't a great day. And I know there's in the psyche of the human condition, there's this idea that, oh, it's Monday. I got to get focused over here, as if Monday is energetically completely different than any other day of the week. And I recognize that for a majority of all people, energetically, Monday is a separate day from everything else. Monday is the day to put all of the enjoyment, margin, flexibility, freedom. Let's either put it on hold or let's put a little uh, let's put a little limitation around it. Let's get focused over here. This is what Monday is all about. And my friend and mentor Dan Miller wrote a book many years ago called No More Mondays. And when I read that book, I was still experiencing Mondays, if you will. He later, by the way, did a revision of that book, and it was called No More Dreaded Mondays. It was the No More Dreaded Mondays book. Anyway, regardless of what it is, Monday is just another day like any other day. It's the sun shines the same. The sky is out there above us. There's an abundance of oxygen to breathe. There is the opportunity to create on this canvas that we call life. It's the same each day, and I'm excited to be here. But yet, like I said last week, on a Monday, no one attended the live stream. Well, people were out there watching. By the way, some of you might be watching now. If you want, you can, and you're not able to join me via Zoom and you want to say hello, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, go ahead and type something in the chat. I can throw your comment up on the screen and I can respond to you that way. I'm happy and delighted to do that. I'll even pull up LinkedIn just so I can see if anything happens that way along those lines. Here, I'll click on that, and I'm gonna have to mute this because it'll come through unmuted. There we go. That's taken care of. Yeah, so no comments yet. No worries. The other thing is that if you want to join me live here on Zoom, you can. I would be delighted to answer any questions you have, engage with you. Imagine this is an opportunity for free coaching right here, right now. I'm seriously, this is all about helping you in any way I can. I will continue to show up. Even if I sit here in silence, even if I sit here and on Mondays nobody shows up or whatever days, the rest of the days that I did last week, people showed up. The week before that, people showed up. So I'm not tied to anything. But with that, I think I am finished setting everything up. So I am now going to throw this little thing right here. Why am I just sitting here? And it says, I'm waiting for the next divine appointment. If you are navigating a life decision, building something meaningful, or simply seeking a conversation that goes deeper, you're invited. Join me now at cliffravenscraft.com/join. So with that, I'm just going to sit here on Zoom and see if anybody joins me. Looks like we have somebody joining us here. Kenneth, how are you? Are you able to join me today? Just give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. I love it. All right. Which one of these is the actual thing? Looks like we have somebody joining us here. Oh, hold on. I've got a audio coming. Is that you sending me audio?
I hope
Kenneth,
not.
how are you? Are you able to join me today? I might have thumbs up if you're ready. I might have this open in another
Yeah.
place. Sweet. I love it.
Oh, actually, I have it open in another place.
Let's see. So there's Zoom window.
Is that better?
Yeah, I don't hear anything now. Are you ready?
I think so. I think we're good.
Kenneth, how may I serve you today?
Yeah, so I go by JR.
Oh, so it's JR. Okay, so
Yes.
I was like, okay, well, I saw a Longhorn. I'm like, maybe Kenneth and JR are somehow related, or
Yes.
it's just a coincidence. JR, how can I serve you today?
Well, I'm thinking about coming to the Free the Dream workshop in, what is it, a couple weeks?
Yep.
And so I think it would be beneficial, but I haven't been engaged with your content since back when you were doing the podcast Answer Man. So years and years and years ago when you were doing that, I did some podcasting type stuff and got the equipment package from you back then and learned a lot from you back then. But then since then, I guess you kind of took a turn from podcast Answer Man and went a different route, which is fine. But but I haven't been engaged, like, I guess from that period of time until now in your content. And I think it seems like it would benefit me to come and kind of work through what I'm working on. But I just want to get on and chat.
Excellent. Well, tell me what it is that you currently have going on and what you would desire to get out of it, and I'll let you know, and then I can explain a little bit more and fill in some of the gaps of what's been going on in my world since podcast Answer Man days, and we can find out if there's alignment there or not.
Yep. So back when I first started podcasting and doing stuff, I had the idea that I'm a software developer, software engineer, and decided that I wanted to serve the market of home service businesses, specifically air conditioning. And so I started working on software products to serve that industry in more of a business management sense. And so software products, there are competitors out there that are well established, but I looked at those and thought, yeah, a lot of these are way too complicated for the small businesses to try to use. And so I said, okay, I think we can improve on that. And so I started doing that, and I've been doing consulting at the same time. And since I was in that industry and doing consulting, I was seeking out integration partners and have found a good integration partner with MeasureQuick. It's a product called MeasureQuick that does diagnostics of HVAC equipment, mostly residential. And so I said, okay, I was looking for integration partners, and they were actually looking for a developer to help them. So I started doing consulting for them and have been doing that for several years and kind of been building the product that I'm trying to get released over this past several years. And I'm doing an integration with their product, which is nice because I'm very familiar with theirs because I've worked on it. And so right now I am probably Q4 going to make a kind of a shift. So up until now, I've worked on product. And in Q4, I think I'm going to try to shift to work on marketing and sales. And so I thought that this might be an appropriate time to kind of engage you because that's where you've been, especially in the digital space.
Okay. So you've got the products. You plan on keeping the products that you have, but your focus, rather than developing the products, the shift in Q4 is, I think it's time for me to begin an effort and attention on the sales and marketing side so that I can grow the customer base of those who are now going to benefit from the products and services that I have.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm a software developer and I build things. That's kind of what I enjoy. And so I find myself getting stuck in that spot.
Okay.
and, and so now, and part of it is, I feel like I'm a perfectionist too. It's like I could make this better. And so instead of shifting my effort to try to promote what I have so far, I can just spend some more time making this better, and then I don't have to go over there and promote this.
Right.
And and internally, I genuinely feel like, well, this isn't quite ready yet. And it's software development, so it takes some time.
Yep. So when you think about this shift in Q4 and you contemplate maybe potentially this workshop might be able to help assist me in that shift, where do you feel that you need the help?
Probably in prioritizing what I do next. I think it's probably, to me, most things turn into a problem of prioritization. So I have lots of ideas that float around, and the amount of information you can glean from the internet, on YouTube, and elsewhere is almost unlimited. So there's no shortage of ideas. It's just a matter of saying, okay, what is the best approach for me at this point and right now? And so that's what I'm trying to get clear in my head, and then attack that plan.
Yeah. Well, that what you are discussing right there is very much in alignment with the Free the Dream conference that I did in 2018 and Free the Dream conference in 2019, and what is currently involved in the version of the Free the Dream online course. I consider all of the things that would speak to what you've got going on there. That's what's at the foundational level of the Free the Dream message when it comes to helping somebody set whatever dream that they want to create next, however they want to be in the world next. It's about why is it that I struggle to prioritize the things that I know I should prioritize. For example, one of my
Mhm.
opening examples in the Free the Dream conference that I did, it's the first session of the Free the Dream online course, it's called All Beliefs Have Consequences. And one of my struggles that I had in the early days of my business was sending invoices to people when I felt like I hadn't quite fully earned what I was charging. And the example was I had somebody who I had just raised my rates. I think it was at the point where I was at $300 an hour. I just sold somebody some equipment. Have you heard this story before?
I don't think I have, or if I have, it's been a while.
Okay, so I had sold somebody some equipment. It was many thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I had earned a significant amount of profit on that. And it was, I don't know, let's just say it was a 25-minute call. As far as I'm concerned, I was like, man, I've already earned so much profit on this quick telephone call. This guy wanted the hilt as far as all the stuff. And he's like, hey, Cliff, this is all great. I'm thrilled that you've got me all set up. How do I hook all this stuff up? I don't know even where to start. And I said, well, I am available for one-on-one coaching and consulting. And I charge, it's $300 an hour with a minimum of 1 hour. And if you, given all of the different complexities of everything you have going on, and we had a little bit more dialogue, and given where you are technically right now in your understanding of all this, I'd say we should be able to get everything done in about 2 hours. And so
Mhm.
he got all of his equipment. He's like, Cliff, go ahead and invoice me the equipment plus the $600 for the 2 hours. And I'm like, wonderful. Afterwards, I'm like a giddy little kid. This is the very early days of my business. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is amazing. So he gets his equipment. We schedule our thing. We have our 2 hour call. I hit record. Everything we do, every instruction, every confirmation, I walked him through step by step, pulling every device out of the box. And I walked him through sequentially. This is exactly where the knob should be. This is where this knob should be. I mean, every knob, every column on the devices, every setting, everything. I sent him the audio recording afterwards. Literally, he could actually have his nephew come in, completely turn every single knob, every setting, factory reset, all of the internal settings, everything. If he listened to the audio recording, he'd be able to set it all up again. So,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of that session, everything was working perfectly. We test ran everything, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And he's like, this is incredible. I can't believe this. And so there was no doubt in my mind about the value that I had just provided, and he had no doubt about the value of what he paid for, all of this other stuff. Several months later, I get an email from him, and he says, hey, Cliff, I've got a problem. I just got back from town, and I was trying to do one of my interviews via telephone, and I've got this loud static on there. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I kind of warned you about that. That's how you're amplifying a telephone signal. He says, no, I can't even hear the person. And I said, okay, well, let's see if we can figure out what's going on. The only thing is that I just want to let you know, I do consulting one-on-one. It's $300 an hour with a minimum of 1 hour. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. In my mind, I'm like, okay, he's going to pay me $300 an hour for 1 hour to help him troubleshoot this thing. So the other thing that I had going on for me, by the way, which I felt like reduced the value that I was offering him, I was booked 2 weeks in advance. So I wasn't available for 2 weeks. And he's like, I'm like, said it so he's like, Cliff, it's okay. And so now all of a sudden he's in the back of my head. This guy who's bought lots of equipment. I earned so much profit. I gained so much by having him as a client. And now I'm making him wait. And I'm over here feeling guilt and shame internally of the fact that this guy's being put off. And so I reach out to him and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, the JK Audio broadcast host device, which we're going to troubleshoot, they actually have a toll-free phone number, and you can call and they will give you free technical support on that device. And I can tell you right now, I've called them a number of times. They're amazing. And I'm like, and it won't cost you anything. Just let me know if you would like. Here's their phone number. I looked it up for you. If you'd like to cancel our call, in a week and a half from now. He says, Cliff, if your schedule is still available, I'd still like to speak to you. I'm in no rush. Right. So we get to that date, and all of a sudden, we get on the call. I actually was using some kind of, it was very similar to Zoom. We had a scheduled link. I showed up 5 minutes early. He showed up 5 minutes early. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's just jump straight into this. So I asked him, I said, okay, do me a favor, turn on the device. What's the phone number for the studio line? So I dial it, I click it, it rings, he picks it up, and instantly I heard the statics that he's talking about. I would have given it a different label than static, but he's a non-technical person. It was a feedback. It was an audio feedback that was inside of the system. I said, oh, reach behind the broadcast host, pull out the power cord, and plug it back in. And he did that. I hit redial, picked up, and we're talking just like normal. He goes, Cliff, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Send me the invoice. I'm like, I can't send you an invoice. The call's not even scheduled to start yet. We're still got about 3 or 4 minutes before the call's supposed to start. You're paying, in my mind, you're paying me for an hour. And I should have known that. I should have thought about that. I can't believe it. But here's what I learned in hindsight after that call is the reason why I was able to instantly diagnose what was going on is because I'd done thousands of hours of use of this equipment. That's happened to me 2 different times in the past, and I instantly knew what happened. He had a power outage. When the power came back on, there was a little bit of a jolt of power that caused a crossover in the circuitry, and that's all that was. You turn it off, plug it out, unplug it, plug it back in. I've had that happen to me twice. He goes, this is amazing. And he begged me, Cliff, send me the invoice. And I said, I can't.
Mhm.
He's like, I said, I should have known that. I shouldn't have made you wait 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. Cliff, send me the invoice, please. And I even told him, I said, I would not be able to sleep tonight with a clean conscience if I sent you this invoice. And he
Yeah.
begged me 2 or 3 more times, and I just couldn't do it. And so that's my opening story. Now, the reason why I did all of that is the same reason why you fail to prioritize the things that you know you need to do. And it's all about our belief systems and finding all of these. And every single time we come up with a situation or a circumstance where the results that we're getting in our life and or business or in any relationship at all, anytime we get some sort of undesired experience, it's an opportunity for us to be revealing some sort of limiting belief that's limiting us from having the desired outcomes that we want, or the prioritized tasks, or the action taken on the things. So in essence, that's kind of what Free the Dream conference and the online course is to say, number one, all beliefs have consequences. Where did they come from? How can we shift and or break up the old beliefs? How can we condition new beliefs? But then there's a lot of other personal and professional development psychology in how to attain and or achieve the goals or dreams that you have. And so that was the first rendition of Free the Dream. And that's what I've been focused myself on. So when I shut down Podcast Answer Man, I considered myself in the minds of those, I wanted to brand myself as the mindset answer man. Let's get to the mindset that's keeping you from having the prioritization of the things you say are important. Because really, if you want to know what your priorities are, it's not some sort of intellectual idea of this is what's most important to me. If I really want to know what your priorities are, all I need you to do is track every action and activity that you do over the course of a week, and then give me that report, and I will tell you what your priorities are. And your priorities are based upon your beliefs about who I am, what is responsible, what is right, what is wrong. All of it's your beliefs about the pain and pleasure that you'll gain by either doing or not doing certain things. Your priorities is nothing more than an outcome of your belief system. But the thing is consciously, I desire to have this. I desire to focus at least, let's say, 15% of my week each week, not to product development, but I want to set that aside for marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when
That's
we
where I
don't
need to
do
get.
it, we have to, it's a beautiful opportunity to say, okay, why don't I do this?
Because I look at the product and I look at it and I think, well, that's not good enough.
Right. And
So I go back to, let's keep working on it. Let's make it better.
yeah. And you know what? And you could, so what we're going to do with Free the Dream workshop is I'm going to take the foundation of all of those things. And if during the workshop, there's enough people who are dealing with the foundational issues, I'll bring those messages and we'll teach from those during the 2 days that we're together. But even beyond that, there's even more that we go into, which is in my mind today. And it's actually about, it goes even more into the deconstructing of what we believe. Like the fact is that I'm a perfectionist. Well, is that true? And if it's true, can you give me evidence of anything perfect that you've put out into the world?
Well, if you never release, you never put anything out into the world, right?
That's exactly it. So ironically, I can work on the ego personality that we have all adopted throughout our lifetime. So I could take you and myself and everyone else that comes to Free the Dream, and in Free the Dream 2018, Free the Dream 2019, this is exactly what we did. It's like, come as you are, come as you believe who you are, your ego persona, the thought of come as your entire belief system, and then tell us from that what do you want to create? What is your dream that you want to put out into the world? Now, from what we call the focus from the ego persona identity, the Free the Dream conference and online course has all sorts of techniques and strategies that will motivate that ego persona to take actions, even in creating things that aren't quite aligned with your soul identity, but your actual adopted ego identity. And we can get you to do and take action on things. And I have all of those strategies. And so someone can come to Free the Dream and they can get tools, tactics, and strategies on how to get yourself to do things that you previously would not want to do. So in fact, there's an entire session that says, okay, here's how you create the neuroassociations. You want to tie massive, immediate pleasure to the thing you want to do, and massive, immediate, unbearable pain to the idea of not doing the sales and marketing 15 hours or 15% of my week. And you can do this, and it's successful. I've got proof and track records for myself. I've got countless testimonials. And for the last 7.5 years of my life, most all of my coaching had been working with people who are absolutely clinging to the version of themselves that they think they're supposed to be, so that they will be accepted by everyone else, if that makes sense. Let me pause there and ask you, do you have any question about that, or do you have any comment about that?
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, most people they act, among their peers in a way that they feel like they're accepted.
Exactly. So I'll give you a perfect example of this. I have somebody that comes to me and says, Cliff, I'm going to come to your Free the Dream conference. I currently have been making somewhere between $85,000 to $100,000 a year in my coaching, and I'm absolutely committed to increase. I'm going to hire a team of people. I'm going to teach them my skills in coaching. I'm going to create an online course, and I'm going to get to the place where no longer does my business require me to sit in the seat of coaching. I'm going to lead a company that can actually operate without me, and finally I'll be a business owner, because we know that if your business requires you to work inside of your business, you're not a business owner, you're self-employed. And so I'm ready to put that season behind me, and what I'm going after next, I want to generate $1 million. That's my within the next 18 months to 24 months, I want to be on target for earning $1 million a year in my business. That's my dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been their dream for the last 5 years. But
right.
The reality, what I've noticed, and I have actually helped some people achieve said dream.
Mm-hmm.
They're just as dissatisfied and unfulfilled as they were the day they came to me. They have all the financial resources, but it didn't fill what they thought was missing. Ironically, some of my clients that have stayed with me for 5, 7, and even 10 years are the people who came to me because they wanted something. They presented something in that realm, but within 3 to 6 months, they discovered that's actually not what I want. Really, if it gets down to it, what I want is something completely different that seems reckless and ridiculous in the minds of everyone else. But yet, I'm afraid to go and do something that is laughed at by my peers and the people that I love and that I want to be in relationship with and that I'd like to have the respect from, and helping them break free from this identity that I have to be this to be accepted by this group of people. And in essence, Free the Dream Workshop, JR, is a little bit more going down that realm of it. So it's going to that deeper layer to make sure that what it is that you say your dream is actually aligned with your soul identity and not some manufactured identity, so that you'll be safe, comfortable, and accepted by others.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, but it will have strategy and techniques and frameworks and
Yeah.
formulas, and also anybody who signs up for Free the Dream workshop, I'm going to instantly grant them access to the Free the Dream online course, which they can watch at any time on their leisure, either
Yeah,
before and or after the event.
that'd be helpful. Yeah, that sounds good. The other topic that I'm interested in, and I think I caught one of your YouTubes. I was trying to get my wife to decide whether she wanted to come to Free the Dream. And she said, I don't know. I need more information. And so I pulled up an older YouTube that you were presenting, and it was talking about a mindset shift when you were going from being an employee at the insurance agency to running your own business in the very beginning. Um, and I don't remember where I was going with that. But But yeah, one of the things you mentioned was finding your peer group. And you found that with the mastermind because you were saying that leaving being an employee behind, you just felt a bigger and bigger gap developing between the people, the friends that you had as an employee, and then new peers that you had. You had a different mindset, different outlook, perhaps.
Yeah,
Um,
my one of my struggles was in that time. I started out at $50 an hour. And
mhm.
most of the people that I did life with, they were employees who were, if they were salaried employees, they kind of effectively knew what their effective hourly rate was, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And the effective hourly rate of most of the people that I did life with, and this was back in 2008 is when I became full-time self-employed. The effective hourly rate of most of those people was somewhere between $17 to $30 an hour.
right.
And I felt a little bit guilty asking people to pay me $50 an hour because most of my friends that were doing work, they had studied for years to be able to be equipped and educated enough to do the work that they're doing. It was laborious, tedious. They didn't really truly enjoy it. And here they are,
Mhm.
they're making $30 an hour, right?
Right.
And I sit here all day, every day, having conversations with people. And at the time, I felt weird asking people to pay me $50 an hour to
Mhm.
talk to me about topics that most people they were I would talk to them for free if they'd let me, but they get bored after 15 minutes and they don't want to hear me talking about podcasting and technology and stuff like
Yeah.
that anymore. And so, oh my gosh, I felt in the early days I should be paying people $50 an hour to let me talk about this stuff. Here I'm asking them to pay me, and it's much
Yeah.
more than all of my friends. And so it wasn't really too big of an issue, except for when I started to think about the fact that, man, I'm not able to put food on my table for my family in a way that at $50 an hour here, for some reason I thought $50 an hour, I'm going to work 40 hours every week guaranteed. And
Yeah.
even if I did that, it's not necessarily going to provide the lifestyle that I want. And so I need to raise my rates. And so when I went to raise my rates and they said, well, what's your rates now? Well, I'm $50 an hour. It's like,
Mhm.
how much more do you want?
Right.
Whereas
Yeah.
I finally got into some circles where other people were business owners who had been in it for a long time. And they said, Cliff, what's your rate now? $50. Dude, you shouldn't be charging anything less than $150 an hour.
Right.
So it's a whole different mindset. So
Mhm.
eventually, I had heard enough people say, Cliff, you should charge $150 an hour. I would have those conversations with people in my inner circle, and they're like, that's ridiculous. Dude, nobody's going to pay you that. And so eventually, I did raise my rates. And because of the influence of that peer group that I had at the time, I raised them to $95 an hour
Oh,
because
you cut it in half.
yep. And I didn't want to go to 100 because 100 seemed too overly ambitious, and
Psychological.
90
Yeah.
it was all psychological. Until
Yeah. And so,
eventually, yeah, until
yeah.
I changed that peer group, and then all of a sudden when I was at 150 and I raised it, and 6 weeks later it still wasn't giving me the financial return that I desired, because I still wasn't going to book myself 40 hours a week as a coach. They said,
Right.
Cliff, raise your rate to $300 an hour.
Mhm.
And I did. And that practically happened overnight, but that happened because I had upgraded my peer group to people
Yeah. Yeah.
who understood life at the level of a business owner.
Right. Well, I mean, and most people, and even me, like most of my peers in church and daily life, almost everyone is an employee. And so, I mean, it may be one out of 100 people that I interact with that run their own business or at some time in the past have run their own business. And as soon as you do that, then you think about how much you earn based on your time differently. So what you charge is not necessarily what you're. It's kind of like when the customers we serve, the plumbers or the HVAC guy comes to your house to fix your air conditioning. The company he works for, maybe, they may have to charge $500 just for him to show up because it's not worth their time to roll the van and talk to you for less than $500. But if he comes out there and all he has to do is flip the breaker because the breaker was tripped, they're still going to charge you that service call fee, and they have to, because if they don't, then they can't stay in business.
Yeah, I had a guy come out and worked on I think it was our hot water heater or something like that. Yeah, no, it was our furnace. Our furnace was out. It was freezing cold, and the furnace was out. And I think he charged, it was a $95 fee just to come and look.
Hmm.
And he didn't have the part, so he's going to have to drive back home, or to his place, and he was going to have to order it. He'd get it delivered that day, and he'd be back the next day. And he says, "But I'm not going
Hmm.
to charge you the $95 fee for that,"
Yeah.
and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Why?" And this guy owned his own service repair company. I'm like,
Right.
dude, of
Yeah.
course, yes, charge me the other
Yeah. Charge it.
$95 to
Yep.
come back, and charge me for the part, and charge me for this. And he's like,
That's right.
and he had the same limiting mindset that I did. It's like, well, I wouldn't want
Hmm.
somebody to do that. In his mind, maybe I should have had, an entire service parts department in my truck and whatever. It's like, no, that's not how this works. I can
Right.
afford to pay you what you're worth here. And he's like, no, I'll do this. And I think the total bill between the 2 days that he was there, and I know that I was at least a 45-minute drive from where he lives.
Mhm.
2 days that he was at my house, and he was there a total of 3.5 hours. It was like $198 or something like that.
Oh,
It was
wow.
something really super ridiculously cheap.
Super.
And I
Yeah.
sat there. I said, "I'll tell you what. I'm gonna write you a check for $500. I want you to go take your wife out for a steak dinner this
Right.
weekend."
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, what we're doing is software, but I'd like to get to a point, especially when we're starting to do the marketing and the content type things, that you kind of bring in some education to that too, because most of these companies, I would say, are not run typically by your stereotypical business person. Like, they're not numbers people typically. They're usually guys who learned the trade, they learned how to do a good job fixing things, and then they decided they wanted to earn more money and run their own business. And so now that's where they are. And they're kind of stuck the same place most people are. I'm an employee. I'm making, I don't know what they make now as employees, but they're probably earning between $20 and $40 an hour, I would think, most of them. And so when they go out on their own, for them to charge $95 an hour seems like a huge upgrade until they factor in all their business costs.
Yeah.
So that would be, it is, I mean, it's a common problem.
So you said that so your wife was wondering, should I attend, or you were wondering, should she attend, and you introduced her to
Yes.
one of the videos. What was the consensus or conversation after she viewed the video?
I still need to follow up. She's, I'm not sure if she'll come or not. She's still an employee. I've been self-employed for many years,
Yeah.
doing, earning an income mainly from consulting, doing software development consulting. But she worked as a teacher for many years and got out of teaching. Now she's an administrative assistant. So
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now, this conference is not necessarily for business owners. It's not going to be focused on sales and marketing techniques and strategies
mhm.
and tactics. Although there'll be plenty of time in there for Ask Me Anything, kind of just like I'm here, Ask Me Anything.
Mhm.
More than delighted to share with you. And of course, also, and JR, write this down as well. Another thing that I'd be willing to give you and or anyone else who registers to come to Free the Dream, I'll give you for free the entire recordings of all of my sessions for my building an online business workshop that I did in person here. I'm not currently hosting those, but those are very much around the realm of making sure, do I have the right product fit, who's my target audience, and then there's, it's a lot of mindset, but there's a bunch of things in there about how do I market my business when it comes to, promotion, advertising, becoming known, things like
Yeah.
that. There's some stuff in there that would be of value to you in that area. You can pick and choose based upon the titles of the sessions.
The other question I had, if you're kind of done with that thread, going back to that transition, you had mentioned, you found kind of your peer group in a mastermind group.
I
And
did.
then I know that you
And
managed some
in
mastermind groups
mentors,
after
by
that.
the way.
Okay, mentors too. Okay.
Mentors as well. Mentors came first, mastermind group came afterwards.
And that's something that so that's what I need. I need to figure out how to find those people and connect
Well,
with both mentors and mastermind group.
yeah, you're already doing it here. I mean, not suggesting that I'm your mentor or anything like that, but this is
Right.
this is how you do it. And you find somebody
Okay.
that you've been resonating with, and it's like, man, there's a couple of things I've witnessed in the things that you've done, and a lot of those things I'd like to figure out how to incorporate some of that. I'd like to ask you questions. And so
Hmm.
how did I discover my mentors? I discovered them because they were clients. They came to me because of who they already were and the value that they brought to people, and they wanted to actually create a podcast. And so I helped them launch a podcast. But through the podcast, we developed a great deal of rapport. And they're like,
Hmm.
Cliff, I'd like to tell my audience about you. And as a result of that, they told their audience about me. And then as a result of that, I got lots of their audience as clients. And
Okay.
I have a very particular way of showing up for people. And it is not all about the transaction. It is about being of service at the deepest level. And I go
Hmm.
way far below the surface of what you actually hired me for. That's just who I am. It's who I have always been. And as a result of that, imagine like a Michael Hyatt or a Dan Miller or a Pat Flynn or an Amy Porterfield or any of these other people who are out there, when they've actually had me as a guest on their podcast, and within weeks and all the way up to months and or years and now decades later, they are consistently hearing their members mention my name. You know what? I can't
Hmm.
begin to thank you enough for telling me about Cliff Ravenscraft. You had him on that one podcast episode 3.5 years ago, and
Hmm.
today I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if you didn't have him as a guest, and blah blah blah. And it's because of
Yeah.
that, and it opened up the opportunity for those people to say, Cliff, I want to hear more about what you're doing. Come speak at my event. Come be a part of this. Come do this. And those relationships just got formed to the place where now all of a sudden it's like, hey, come stay in my guest house when you're in Franklin, Tennessee,
Right.
and text me anytime. Hey,
Hmm.
when you're coming into town next, I'd like to take you out to dinner. And that's how those mentoring relationships started. I don't necessarily know how you can turn that into a strategic thing. This is how you go do it. But what I can pull out of the idea of finding mentors is find somebody who's out there doing something at the level you want to do it, and become a student of theirs, and
Hmm.
look for ways to express your gratitude and appreciation for who they are. And if they happen to be the type of people who are out there serving others and they can't serve everyone out there, and what you are doing is in alignment with what they're doing, which has always been the case with my mentors, I ended up looking for ways to show up and serve their community, not out of some poaching mindset. Oh, wow, I could possibly get some clients here. But I would just show up in their environments and be of support to the other people who are also, much like me, somebody who's looking up to this person. And again, the number of times where somebody's like, man, uh, my name just got mentioned so many times that these people are like, wow, it's kind of valuable to have this Cliff Ravenscraft. And when I have a live event and I'm not able to engage with everyone. But man, I know when Cliff comes to one of my live events, he's able to meet with people at a level and devote a certain amount of time that exponentially increases the value they got from coming to and paying to attend my event. And so it
Right.
always makes sense to have Cliff at my events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
that
how
makes a lot of sense.
those I think you can withdraw and extract out of that kind of my approach to how I developed so many of those mentor relationships.
Yeah, it's is it Ivan Misner, Giver's Gain?
Okay, I'm
I don't know
familiar
if
of
you've heard
the
of that.
title, and I've heard the
Yeah.
name. I've
It,
not read
it's
that
what
one though.
it's what the BNI groups were kind of born out
Oh
of.
yeah,
Yeah. Long time ago, I was in a BNI group, many years ago.
I was too back in my insurance days. I really enjoyed BNI.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good to kind of hone the, you know, pitch, hot seat, whatever you want to call that kind of structure. It was good to do that.
Yeah, and I think in a service-based business that is so geographically located and where
Hmm.
practically everyone else in the group is at some point going to need your service, it's a great. So if you're an
Right.
insurance agent, an attorney, a lawyer, a dentist, a printer, all of the local business. I mean, it makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. It may not make
Yep.
as much sense for a consultant that's a little bit more
Right.
arbitrary and
Yeah.
stuff like that, or a software development that is so
Right. That's
niche
right.
and special. It doesn't make a lot of sense for many of us who are business owners today. But yeah,
Right.
BNI is an amazing organization for people who have local, geographically
Hmm.
focused businesses. Every single one of your customers that have air conditioning businesses and roofing companies or whatever, they should all be in BNI, I think.
I would agree, but right now they're in a situation of remarkable demand, I would say,
Yeah.
and I would say that it's causing them to kind of be lax in those type of things. And so,
When you say
depending
they're
on what happens with the economy,
you're
yeah, go
saying
ahead.
the roofers and the HVAC guys, and
Yes.
you're
Yeah,
they're in a place where, if I hear what you're saying, they're in such a place right now that not only do they not need referrals coming in every week from BNI fellow members, but in many cases they're having a hard time keeping up with the demand of the people
they
who
are.
want to become customers.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that it
and I think
doesn't make sense to
it's
go to put
yeah,
off potential clients so that you can spend an
that's right.
hour at BNI every week.
And I think a lot of it, the current economics of the market and the really high demand that they're experiencing right now, uh, is causing them to kind of get lax in a lot of these just kind of basic business principles that you would employ. And hopefully, I don't know, in my local area, I think I've seen at least 4 new HVAC companies start in the last year.
Hmm.
And I'm a little concerned about it, but we'll see. So I had a company that I work with. So the software that we build is called Fieldstone. And I started, a big core component of that product is pricing. So a lot of these companies use flat rate pricing is what they typically call it. And it's a pricing model where you build in all of your business costs and the cost of the material and the cost of the labor, and then you present the customer with one flat rate. So for the guy that came to fix your furnace, depending on what was wrong with it, he could have looked that up in a book, kind of like a price book, and it would have had a cost associated with it that had everything built into that price. And so when I was developing that, I really developed that working with a local company. And the owner of that company, plumbing and HVAC, he was unusually, he's a numbers guy. Like he was a business guy that decided to start that business on the side when he was an employee somewhere else. And so he was very interested in the numbers and always on the numbers. And so that's why that kind of got born in that price book version. Um, and he had mentioned that back in, I think it was in 2008, the housing bubble kind of burst. And a lot of these tradesmen were working for new construction contractors. And that's kind of where they were getting the bulk of their business. And they didn't have a lot of service business. And so He said when the housing market burst, a lot of those guys went out of business, and it was I fear that that's going to happen. I don't know, within the next 10, 15, 20 years for these guys, and so hopefully they can try to be disciplined and keep their business sense about them, and not get too complacent about. I mean, really, for a lot of them, it's good if they answer the phone when potential customers call. Like that's really where they're at. Like if they can get all the phones answered when the customers call, then they're doing good.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting world in that business. I saw some pretty fascinating things when it comes to AI technology and answering calls and being able
Hmm.
to provide answers to common questions and things like that. I think it'll be interesting to see if they can. It my I maybe a younger generation might be able to bite the bullet and investigate those things. I I see a lot of the
Yeah.
trades. It's starting to age out in many cases. So you know.
Yes. Yeah. There are a lot of older guys aging out, and for the HVAC business in particular, it's interesting and it's fun at the same time. Like you've got a lot of new technology coming into the space. You've got a lot of young people that need to go into the trades,
Yeah.
and the technology around the trade is advancing. So that's one of the software that we integrate with MeasureQuick. Their business model, they do diagnostics on HVAC equipment. And so there's kind of an old school way to diagnose problems with HVAC equipment, and then there's a new school way. The new school way uses tools that have Bluetooth radios in them, and they transmit readings like temperature readings and pressure readings back to your phone into software. And so the technician is looking at their phone, and this particular software looks at all those readings and looks at what the equipment is and tells you whether or not that system is running properly or not. And when it's not, it takes those readings and says, hey, we think you should check these three things. These are likely issues in this system. And they didn't have that before. It was all experience
Hmm.
based. If you knew how to troubleshoot the system and fix the system, it was because you learned under someone else. And now we're getting to the point where you're kind of learning under technology.
Yeah, and I see that's the future in a lot of arenas, but certainly
Mhm.
in the HVAC business, I can see that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, let me ask you: is there any other questions that I can answer for you to help discern whether or not attending Free the Dream workshop would be a good fit? By the way, one of the things that is important to understand is I'm not looking to try to sell anyone on Free the Dream workshop. It's kind of like this thing where if you've been resonating with how I show up, how I serve people, and you'd like to learn a little bit more about the approach to life, more than anything, I think the Free the Dream workshop is less about the techniques and the strategies and the frameworks
Hmm.
and the tactics. Although I have all of those on hand, we'll pull them out in real time as they're organically, as they make sense within the sessions. And every session of Free the Dream workshop is going to be different because each makeup of who's in attendance and what they have desire to create in the world. But more than anything, it's about a way of being in the world that if you find yourself getting stuck or you know having trouble staying aligned with your priorities or getting yourself to take certain actions and stuff like this, we're going to get to the underlying issues that are at the foundation of that. It's actually it's not that you can't get things done. It's just that you have an identity that you believe that you are, that is really the issue underneath. And so a lot of people who are really stuck with, I'm afraid about how I'm going to be perceived by others. Like, for example, what if somebody goes and buys my product and they perceive that it's missing a feature? How will I be viewed?
Right.
Will I be judged and all this other
Yeah.
stuff? Ironically, it's the same for everyone. So, and
Hmm.
as far as I'm concerned, the Free the Dream workshop would be equally as valuable to somebody who is a teacher as a business owner, because we
Okay.
all deal with the same identity issues. When it all comes down to it, I was reading something. It was this weekend. And it was called about fear stacking, and it talked about and then what, and then what, and
Hmm.
it's like, so for example, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to earn this amount of income. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that I won't be able to pay for my car. And then what? And then, well, I'll lose my car. And then what? I won't have transformation. And then what? I
Hmm.
won't be able to get to work. And then what? I'll lose my job. And then what? I won't be able to buy food and won't have shelter. And then what? And ultimately,
Right.
it comes down to everybody has a fear of death.
Hmm. Okay.
And
Yeah, I didn't know that was where you're going with that. I was thinking Job's story, but
no, it all comes down to a fear of death. And what's common with the fear of death for everyone is that you believe that that your identity is nothing more than, I am a human being who has a finite amount of time on this planet, and then one day
right.
that's going to end. And what I'd love to do is just look and say, are there any other alternatives to the belief that I am a physical body with a soul, and my identity is this human thing that I'm doing here? And so it's a little bit of a really going deep. Who am I? What do I believe? Where do beliefs comes from? And it will introduce all sorts of different theories and belief systems from all throughout ancient history, and a bit more of a philosophical buffet of ideas that you could choose to take a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this to modify your belief system in such a way that you'll experience more of what you want and less of what you don't want in life. It's a very weird and out there kind of way to explain what we're doing with Free the Dream, but that's in essence what it is.
Okay. I think it would be beneficial.
Sweet. Well, the cool thing is it's limited to 50 people, and
Right.
there are 49 spots left. So as of right now, at least there are you actually are one of 6 people who said, Cliff, I'm really interested in attending Free the Dream.
Hmm.
So yeah,
We may have six.
that'd be awesome. We may have here. I know we'll have one. He emailed me. He's like, "Hey Cliff, so I just bought tickets. Can I know you just?" He says this is coming up in just a couple of weeks, and I know you just announced this. But I bought my airline tickets, and I can cancel within 24 hours. So let me know. Is there any potential that, because he was the first person to register, because he knows, because
Right.
I told him it's 50 people and it says there are 50 spots left. He goes, if there's
Yeah.
any way you're going to cancel this, if there's not, I said, let me tell you something. If you are the only person there, we are going to have a 1-person 2-day full workshop. It's going to be amazing. And I
Yeah.
say
That would.
that I used to do building and online business workshops here in the Next Level studio. And before I started the Free the Dream conference, we had 12 to 14 people here every single time. And that's all my home would allow. We had built a studio
Mhm.
workshop classroom in my house. And I did that over and over and over again. But then we started doing Free the Dream conference and marketing that. But I forgot to stop marketing. I forgot to shut down the sales page for the workshop. And I had a couple scheduled. And so I had
Mhm.
one sign up for this month, and I had another 2 people sign up for this month, and I had one person sign up for this month. And each time I had to reach out to them and say, hey, I don't plan on marketing this thing, but if you
Mhm.
want to come, 2 things. One, I'll give you 100% refund if you don't want to come, but that's not what I hope that you'll say. I hope that you'll
Right.
say you'll still come, and I will serve you as though I said, if you say you're coming, I will let other people know that this is here, and maybe one or
Mhm.
two or three other people might show up. Who knows? It could fill up, but more than likely, right now, it's you and me for those
Mhm.
entire 2 days. And so I actually did one workshop for actually, I did 2 workshops for one person and one workshop for 2 people. And yeah, those workshops are incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and valuable for
Yeah.
those folks.
Yeah.
They
Well,
they got a lot of individual attention.
yeah, given the fact that I charged $10,000 for a single one-on-one day with me, it's
Right.
technically
Yeah.
$20,000 worth of value.
It's a great value.
And then everything, 100% of all the content is specifically to what you would. It's because I'm here to serve whatever this group of people most needs and desires.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so far I'm planning to come,
Awesome.
and we'll see who else may come also. I don't know. I don't know if my wife will decide to come or not. We'll see. She has to make the decision. Time off, like paid time off. She's still an employee, so paid
Mhm.
time off versus traveling. So we'll see.
Sweet. Have her put in a request to have the school pay for it.
Well, she is, yes. So she was a teacher. She now works as an executive administrative assistant.
Oh, okay. Well, have the
So it
business pay
could,
for it.
it
Like say,
might, yeah, it may. Well, she still works for a school. She works for a college. So,
oh, okay.
so I said, professional development.
There you go. Exactly.
So I don't know if that's a thing there. So I guess you'll have to figure that out.
I'm not tied to anything, but Jr. If you and or anyone else you tag along with you, I will be delighted. It's going to be an amazing time together for 2 days. So,
Sounds good. Well, I look forward to it.
any other questions? Or anything else I can do to be of support and encouragement?
I think that's it for today.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to the potential of seeing you in a couple of weeks here in my hometown.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yep, you too.
All right. See ya.
Bye bye.
All right. If anyone else wants to hang out with me here, it's Ask Me Anything Day here on the live stream on Zoom. I've got standing by. You can go to cliffravenscraft.com/join. Feel free to join me here and ask me anything. If there's anybody that's watching on the live stream and you want to just say hello or whatever, feel free to type in a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. If there's nobody out there watching this live stream and I'm just sitting here talking into the void, it's not a big deal. I'm here for exactly who is supposed to show up next. In fact, I have this little thing here that says, "Why am I just sitting here? I'm waiting for my next divine appointment. I have no idea who I'm supposed to speak to today, but I do know this. I'm going to be here for a minimum of 12 more minutes if anybody wants to ask me anything. And I'm just going to sit here until somebody joins me via Zoom. And if nobody joins me via Zoom, it's not a big deal." Okay, last call, last call. It is 2:28 p.m. I've got 2 more minutes that I am going to sit here. However, I have plenty of time if somebody does take me up on this offer. There's no pressure, by the way. Don't know if actually there are a handful of you out there streaming this. So, um, if you want to ask me anything, if you'd like to have a conversation about any topic, I have a Zoom call over at cliffravenscraft.com/join. Again, cliffravenscraft.com/join. If you type in that into the browser, there's a button to open up a Zoom call. You can do that on your phone, and or you can do it on a desktop, and you could join me on Zoom and you could ask me anything. Rugby Plays says hi. Thank you, Rugby Plays. Glad to have you out there. But again, last call. If anybody does join me, I will stick around for as long as you want to stick around. So feel free to go to cliffravenscraft.com/join. I'm going to give it another 90 seconds. And if I don't have anybody here, I'll just close down the stream, and I'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I will try to keep all of my future sessions that are scheduled. They'll be there. So, all right, here comes Gary. Good deal. Gary, welcome back. How are you? You're muted, I think. Yep.
There we go. How's that?
Gary, how can I serve you today?
Yeah, well, I just got back from the gym, finishing up lunch at my desk, and I saw you on Facebook. How's that? And I thought I'd just say hi.
Awesome. Well, hi. I'm glad that you did.
I just got back from the gym.
You got the
Let's see
audio
here. I
clicking
got some
through the browser there.
Yeah, I thought. There we go. Okay.
Gotcha.
Had some stuff playing in the background there. So yeah. So
what was our last chat about? Were we talking about podcasting and how it's changed? Is that what I recall?
Yeah. I was curious about what you saw coming up in the future for podcasting and things like that, and I had talked about. I saw podcasting becoming. I forgot the exact words, but maybe too slick, too overproduced.
Yeah, that.
But I've since kind of rethought that.
Okay.
I was listening to someone the other day. I don't remember who, but the essence of what they said made me to think differently about that. And but it was good. They all have their place of whether it's highly produced, which means slick, polished, and you could put it up on network TV, or if it's a local, gritty kind of, just working with iPhones to record the video and the audio, but it's still good content. So I kind of had a change of mind since we talked. So
what that change of mind? How does it inform what you're going to do next?
I don't think it changes anything. It was just a clarity, I think. I still listen to the same podcast. Maybe I've got a little bit more time on my hands than what you do because I'm retired. So, I'm not working a full-time job, but I listen to several different podcasts, and I like to do that at the gym, and then I watch a lot of YouTube videos that they call themselves podcast, but is it really a podcast or is it just a YouTube video? Which one is it? So,
yeah,
but it works.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So how's this been for you to do this live thing every day? Have you gotten some good response from it?
Well, it depends on what one would determine good response. So for me, it's been totally worthwhile, and I've enjoyed it. And I've got
Good.
various different reasons why I've enjoyed it at the different levels of results that have come from being available. But I'm happy to freestyle and share with you some ideas just off the top of my head as it relates to my experience doing these live streams.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So the first thing is that there's nothing more in my life that I enjoy than having deep, meaningful conversations with individuals. I love, specifically if they get into a little bit of a coaching style angle to them. So it gets beneath the surface of strategies, techniques, frameworks, and formulas. But if we can get into some of the more things of the heart and the stuckness of the mind, and if I can actually
Mhm.
help somebody shift their perspective or perceptions that they're currently experiencing and help them see either a situation, a circumstance and or themselves in a different light than they had before we started that conversation, that jazzes me up.
Mhm.
So for me, I asked myself the question, what would I do if money were no object? Like if I never had to earn another penny in my life and everything is just hunky dory, what would I do? I would show up and just make myself available for as many people to come across my path as possible. And I would create content that either is featuring the conversations that I've had, which is what I've been doing lately. I've got 10 conversations that happened during various live streams last week that are all queued up, ready to go out as the next episodes of my Cliff Ravenscraft Show podcast. So that's who I am. It's what I do, and it's what I love. And yeah, as a result of that, I mean, it's amazing. So if I go over to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, episode 772 was one live stream that happened. It was a 3-hour live stream. I talked to 6 people. Now, 4 of those 6 conversations were the type of conversations I'd like to have. 2 of them were just chit chat. I basically edited out the 2 that were chit chat and I put the 4 conversations that I'd love to have. And that's one full 2-hour and 10-minute episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. After I released that, I decided, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is release only this from this point forward. I'm only going to release one conversation with one person per episode, even if they happen back to back to back to back. And so episode 773 was You're Never Stuck, How to Evaluate, Realign, and Begin Again. This episode 773 was a guy who was 15 years old when he started listening to my podcast content. He's been listening to me ever since, and he's now 24 years old. And so this was the first time he's reached out to me, and he is full-time self-employed today. Or actually, he's not full-time he is self-employed. He's an entrepreneur, but he also is working from home for a startup. And he builds technology that helps people do trading online. So that's episode 773, and we talked about how you're never really stuck. Episode 774, Real Business Growth, One Conversation at a Time, and The Soul Wants to Speak. Podcasting is a path to authentic connection. And this was somebody who is a licensed therapist for, I think, 14 years. She's been a licensed therapist, and she wants to break out of the traditional therapy model, and she wants to do coaching more along the lines of what I do.
Mhm.
And she wanted to know, how do I get clients? And she's was trying a couple of different things already. Turns out that she's already hosted a webinar that 78 people registered for. And if you listen
Cool.
to that conversation, I talked to her how she has 78 people who are potential clients and how I would approach them. So that's the first half of that conversation. She also asked, should I have a podcast? And the answer to that question is always no. Having a podcast is not anything that anyone should do. But could you have a podcast? The answer is yes. Do you have a desire to have a podcast, and why? And we got into a little bit of that. And by the end of the conversation, she made a commitment to creating a podcast that weekend. She had been thinking about it for years. She had all sorts of limiting beliefs about what all was necessary and all this other stuff. Her podcast, by the way, show notes, you can find it. It's called it's Where the Soul Sings by Lauren Gall, Gall. It's in the show notes for episode 774. So basically, there's an entire audience of people moving forward as a result of one conversation with Lauren Gall, who will now benefit from her podcast and being in the world. So it's live, it's out there, and she's committed to creating it. Episode 775 was Deconstructing Personality, Breaking the Habit of Being Who You're Not. This was Mark Weiss, who had actually been featured in episode 772. He was one of the 4 people that I had a conversation with that day. And I introduced him to the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he had presented the issue where he's like, Cliff, I've got this problem. I can't get myself to send invoice to clients that have hired me to help them solve their computer issues. And we got to the heart of what it was. He had a fear of people's judgment of the work that he would do. It was much easier just to do the work for them and, and just know that it's there. But if he sent,
so he didn't send invoices.
He was not
just hoped that they would pay him.
They kind of just hoped that they would pay him. But and for him, it was a little bit of a side business. His wife was the income earner, and so, it is what it is, kind of deal. But now he's sending invoices. So,
Cool.
he came back. He came back in episode 775, and we talked about the fact that he's now sending invoices, and he's really getting a lot of value out of the materials that I shared with him. And we talked about deconstructing our fear-based belief systems. So episode 775 was really good. Right after that, I had somebody come in and say, hey, Cliff, I'd love to hear what's been going on in your world. Last time I was at your event, last time you and I spoke, I came to your Free the Dream conference in 2019. And I noticed something because I didn't have enough time to ask you when I was at the event. We talked for about 15 or 20 minutes when he was in Franklin, Tennessee at the event, because I noticed something weird. You stopped marketing the event 2 weeks before the event. And I also have noticed it seems like ever since then, things have gone a completely different direction for you. And I'd love to know if you'd be willing to share a little bit more of the story behind that. And episode 776 is titled From Stadium Dreams to Soulful Simplicity, Why I Chose Depth Over Scale. Episode 777, Rewriting the Narrative and Breaking Free from the Illusion of Certainty. And this one is Jeff Glauser, who came with this idea that I have all of these different options that I want to pursue and that I could potentially pursue as a full-time self-employed business owner. But I'm also on the fence of maybe I should just go get a day job. And he has had an inability so far to choose any one direction because no direction that he is considering in his mind is certain to work. There's not enough assurance that whatever path he chooses is absolutely 100% going to work. And so I basically challenged his idea that there's anything that's certain that's going to work. And it was a fun episode 777. Episode 778 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show is Loving What Is, Releasing the Belief That You Should Be Further Along. And this was Michael Jones, who basically presented the idea of, at this point in my life and in my business, I should actually have way more money in my bank account than I currently do. And ironically, the focus of this conversation is to say that's baloney. You have exactly the precise amount of money that you should have in your bank account right now. And I said, there's one way that I know that this is true is because if you actually go and pull up your bank account, that's how much money's there. That's how much money is there is how much should be there. Now, is it as much as you desire? That's a whole different story. But how much money should be there is that it is the right amount. So it's again playing with people's mindset and belief systems is what I like to do, and that's a fascinating conversation. Now, let's see here. I have, like I said, those are published episodes. I have 10 more audio recordings of different conversations at that level ready to be released. And as soon as I start processing those, I'll release them one day apart from each other. But I've got if I was to work on it today and publish one of them today, and I have the next 10 days worth of conversations already outlined because of the live streams that I've done so far. So I share all of that, and then I'll tell you that last Monday, 1 week ago, I got on here scheduled from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and for 90 minutes, not one person joined me. Not a single soul joined me on Zoom to ask me anything. And I actually ended up writing an incredibly awesome piece of content for my email newsletter. It says, "What happens if nobody comes?" And ironically, many people would refuse to take the chance of hosting a live stream and just sitting there in silence. And this is the great thing. It's in the archives. You could go to last week's date and find it on YouTube, and it's on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Although Facebook, I think, deletes the live streams after 90 days these days, but that's fine. But it's in the archives. And you could sit there if one wanted to. You could see me start a live stream, say that I am not here with slides. I'm not going to speak during this live stream, because if I start speaking, you will be entertained. And I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to engage in dialogue. So if somebody wants to join me, come to the Zoom call. Here it is. And I'm just going to sit here in silence. And
that's what I noticed when I came across it on the Facebook. You're sitting there looking at your computer screen, and it's almost like the computer froze, the camera froze, and you weren't moving. But going, is he live? And it was cool to be. Silence is tough to sit through. You know, it's too easy to say something a lot of times in a conversation. Silence makes people uncomfortable. And I'm glad you're willing to do that, to be silent and wait. That's cool.
And the cool thing is that for me to be afraid of silence, there have to be thoughts and or beliefs that I'd have to be clinging to for me to have any feelings of fear around sitting there and being silent. So I'd have to be afraid of people are going to perceive me as I've lost all credibility. People are going to have to assume that nobody's interested in Cliff Ravenscraft, and so therefore, he's no longer valuable to me either. People, I mean, I'd have to be afraid of all of their perceptions of me. But one of the things that I've learned is that every single person who comes across my live stream and sees me sitting there in silence, doing nothing, waiting for the next person to join, and nobody seems to be joining, there is whatever they perceive as a meaning associated to that has nothing to do with me and has everything to do with their own personal judgments of themselves. And when I learned that, I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with me at all. I'm just here. I know what I want to do with my next hour and a half. I want to show up on Zoom and ask people to join me if they want to have a dialogue or a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And if they don't, that's fine. I'll sit here in silence. And also, I did actually, I don't know if you saw this yet, but I actually created this little graphic.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
So the little graphic there that says, "Hey, why am I just sitting here?" And that way I don't have, because on Monday of last week, I basically every 3 to 5 minutes I was doing the spiel over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't want to even do that. I'm just going to create a little image that goes here. It's like, this is what I'm here for. Go here, come chat with me. Yeah. But so how's it going? I'm getting exactly what I want. I am showing up, and whether or not anybody joins me. Another thing that occurred, I never set out to do this to promote anything, But since I've started doing these, my wife and I did decide it was time for us to start hosting live in-person workshops again, our Free the Dream workshop.
Mhm.
And we chose a date for it. And I'm like, I could actually at the beginning of each live stream just put out a quick mention, Free the Dream workshop. Check it out
Yeah.
if you want to. And so a lot of people
Aren't you keeping those a little bit more intimate? Not as many. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I saw that and I thought that's how I remembered it.
Yeah. It's limited to 50 people, or at least for this
Yeah.
next session. And we may continue to keep it limited to 50 people. But, and if we have 15 people, it's going to be awesome. And if we have 5
Mhm.
people, it's going to be awesome. So it really doesn't matter to us. But the other thing is that there are people who, because I'm having these conversations, they actually hear me mention that I got a Free the Dream workshop. And then I get an email and they're like, Cliff, I'd love to be at your workshop. So for example, J.R. Lawhorn he is in a conversation here in this stream before you came along. And he was listening the other day. He has not been listening to any of my content since my podcast Answer Man days. Now, that was
Really?
7.5 years ago.
Wow.
So imagine he hasn't listened to me at all for 7.5 years. Now I'm showing up here live, and he's like, Cliff, I think I want to attend your workshop. I'm like, great. So that's another side benefit of just showing up. Is there's people who are, and he's not the only one. There are 6 different people who have said, I'm interested in attending your workshop. And so we'll see how many of them show up. But those are the results that I'm getting. I'm top of mind as people are scrolling through what's going on.
Yeah.
Who is this Cliff character? What's going on in Cliff's world? Oh my gosh, why does he have a beard? It just is what it is.
The other day when we talked afterwards, I thought, who does he remind me of with his beard? There's a guy at church that fills in and preaches when the pastor of the church is either out of town or whatever, needs a break. And his beard and the shape of his face is very much like yours. And I went, Brandon Marshall, that's who he looks like. And it's a compliment, by the way.
Awesome.
So cool guy. He's a cool guy. So,
yeah.
But the beard, it looks good.
Thank you. I'm having fun with it. It's a whole.
How long have you had the beard?
Let's see here. So I'm 52 years old. I've never had a beard in my entire life, ever, up until this point. And I started growing. The last time I shaved, let's say it that way. The last time I shaved was probably about 2.5 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Was there anything special that prompted you to go ahead and grow the beard, or just?
So my wife and I have this master bathroom, the whole 2 sink affair and everything. And she was at her sink and I'm like, I should shave today. She goes, let it grow. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, let it grow. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. And so I let it grow. And 2 or 3 days later, I said, should I shave this off? No, I like it. And I'm like, okay. And so I guess I'm going to let it grow. And so I just let it grow. And now I think it's now grown beyond what she had anticipated. But, and there's, she has not said anything to me specifically, but I am 97% certain that she would desire that I go out and get a trimmer and have a beard that looks more than a 6 o'clock shadow, but just, it's a beard, but it's tame, it's clean cut. I know that that's what she would prefer, but she didn't ask me about all of her different hair changes over the years, and I'm not seeking permission for the length of my beard. I haven't decided right now. Quite frankly, I love how it is exactly as it is. There's a part of me that thinks maybe a little bit more tapered right here on the sides and grow this longer a little bit. I don't know. But at this point, I don't have any beard trimming utility items, so I don't have anything. I'm just letting it grow.
Yeah.
I do go and get my hair cut once a month by a professional hairstylist, and she said that she can trim my beard whatever I want. And
Mhm.
the last 2 months, I said, I'm right where it's at right now. I'm not ready to touch it yet. And she says, cool. Whenever you decide what you want to do, let me know. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, the beards have certainly seemed to be more acceptable in all places now, in the corporate world, whatever, in the church world, whatever. Beards uh, are more acceptable than what they were 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
which
And
is cool.
one of the things that I love about it is that, and I love that you pull that out. I am actually not concerned about anything, whether or not it's acceptable by others anymore. So there's a part of me that's interested in going beyond, like growing my beard beyond what would be acceptable, just to trigger, just to see what gets triggered in others.
Yeah, yeah. There was a guy, his name is David Yarnes. I think he's out of North Carolina, who is a minister, church guy. But his beard comes down to here.
Mm-hmm.
It's shaped, but it's very long and it comes down to here. And well, that's pretty brave, dude. But it looks good on him. So
Yeah. Well, and
I tried to grow.
even to that point, there's a part of me is like, let's do something that doesn't look good. Let's just do this.
Yeah.
Let me show up and just be like that. Who cares?
Yeah. I tried to grow. I can do this, but I can't do this. It's too thin right here. And so I tried one time within the last 2-3 years, just letting this grow to get a full beard. And it wasn't thick enough. So I trimmed it back and let this go.
I never cared about any of this stuff before, but I can tell you, I do look at a lot of YouTube videos lately about how to trim a beard at home and all this stuff. I haven't taken any of their advice so far, but there are people, because there's whole communities of bearded brand authorities and stuff like that. And I think there's it's called a derma roller or something like that. And they even have special oils that promote hair growth. If it were ever of an interest to you enough that you wanted, there's people out there that claim that they know how to get those things to fill in.
Yeah. It's certainly a lot easier in the morning routine to not have to shave.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fun stuff. Well, Gary, is there anything else you want to chat about?
No, I saw you were frozen in time, and I thought I'm just going to jump on here real quick and say hello and enjoyed our conversation last time. So
I did too. Matter of fact, I had somebody, Heather Bear, popped in right as you and I were chatting, and she popped out before we finished our conversation. But I sent her a message afterwards, and I said, "Hey, I'm really sorry I missed you." I said I finished up right after, and she said she lost her internet connection, and that's why she had dropped off. But she said she did get some valuable insights from the dialogue about what's changed in the world of podcasting.
Good.
So thank you for
Very cool.
bringing up the topic, my friend. And you're welcome to join me anytime you see me on here, and you'll see me on here quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
well, it seems that after I get back home from the gym is the time where I'm able to, I'll sit down at my desk, I'll eat at my desk, and then it pops up, oh, Cliff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
awesome. And maybe, just maybe one of these days you'll have a question. It's like, hey, Cliff, I'd like your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And not that you have to. You can pop up here and just say hi too as well. I always prioritize people who address a need or a desire or something like that. But always willing to have a conversation with you, Gary.
Yeah, I'm sure once I get back into the Mustang podcast, there'll be some questions that come up.
Awesome.
And trying to get prepared to get that rolling again.
All right. Well, I wish you many blessings, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon, I guess.
Well, thank you. Blessings to you. Have a good afternoon.
All right. See you, Gary.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. I don't know if JR is still out there, but what I'm going to do is I am going to pull up his comment here and at least address it for the replay. So JR said, "Hey, Cliff, in the discussion about acreage, You mentioned the possibility of Eastern Tennessee. What's the draw to that area? So this is probably referring to the conversation that Stephanie and I just had on Friday during our live stream. And the reason why the draw to Eastern Tennessee is simply due to the fact that it's been a staple for where I've gone on lots of vacations, going back to when I was a kid down in the Smoky Mountains. So when I'd say, gosh, even when I hung out with my biological dad, I actually know that wasn't Easter. I don't think my biological dad ever took me to the Smoky Mountains. But when my stepdad, who is now my adopted dad, and he became my dad when I was probably 6 years old, I think. But going all the way back to as early as that, I recall going to Smoky Mountains. And in the earliest days, we would stay in like the little travel lodge motel or whatever that would be right there overlooking the Pigeon River. And then we would stay in cabins. And that happened for many years. We would go down and rent a cabin. And eventually we upgraded from a cabin to the chalet. And we're talking about the big ones where you can have multiple generations of family and stuff like that. We'd rent these gigantic chalets with 8 bedrooms and stuff like that. And then I think it was about 15 years ago, my mom and dad bought a house on Lake Douglas down in Tennessee, right outside of Pigeon Forge in Sevierville. And we've gone down there every year. So the Smoky Mountains is just a place that always is very serene. Mountains speak to me in mystical ways. And I definitely love wooded mountains. And so one of the other common traits for us would be that multiple times we've taken the drive from the Smoky Mountain National Forest area, and we would drive into Asheville, North Carolina to see the Biltmore Estate. And of course, that's the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. And they're kind of a part of the same, mountain range. They're kind of connected, but just the drive and the driving through the mountains from Eastern Tennessee all the way into Asheville, North Carolina, it's just stunning. It is one of my favorite things is those mountains. Now, I've been out to Colorado to the Rocky Mountains, and I do love the Rocky Mountains. But there's something about the mountains that has all the trees and has, it is something that's unique and it's different for me. The closest, and of course that's here in the States. And then I've been to Scotland, and in Scotland, I love the Highlands of Scotland. I love the mountains there. The one thing I did not like about Scotland, though, I think they're called midges. So they're these little tiny flies that are like mosquito. They'll bite you, and just not a fan of the midges. I do love the beauty of the lochs or the lakes up in the Highlands of Scotland, and that is absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous. I'd love to visit there, not necessarily be there all the time, but I'd love to visit there quite often. I've been to the South Island of New Zealand, and oh my gosh, this place is like paradise on earth. And I ideally would love to own a home and live on the South Island of New Zealand 6 months out of the year. So when it's winter here, I'd love to have their summer there and just live on the South Island of New Zealand 6 months out of the year. And I would love to explore all of those mountains. They have the most beautiful, stunning mountains. And given the fact that I am in the United States and I'm looking for land probably in the United States, when I think about that, I think about, for me personally, I'd love mountains, forested mountains. And so the attraction for me, the draw, if you will, for me, is those Eastern Tennessee, or would that be Western North Carolina, the Blue Ridge and or Smoky Mountain Range. That's and those are the kind of minimum elevations that I would like is that. So that's the answer, JR. Is that's when I've thought about acreage, that's what draws me there, is the ability to have a place that has a view of mountains. I am not saying, when I think about our acreage and stuff like that, Stephanie's not as impressed with mountains as I am. And she has a preference. If she did want to have views of mountains, she would have a preference towards the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, which is nice. I do like the elevation there of those mountain ranges compared to the mountains that I've witnessed down here in Tennessee and North Carolina. But I could absolutely see myself, if there was acreage and there were rolling hills and you could see the ups and downs of the rolling hills, and of course there's lots of forested tree areas as well. I could settle for something like that. But anyway, that's my answer to your question. Again, don't know if you're still out there watching the live stream or if you came back and saw the replay of that, but that's my answer to that question. All right, one last shot. If anybody wants to ask me anything, you can come on to Zoom and ask me anything just by going to cliffravenscraft.com/join. If nobody joins me right now, I'll be shutting down the live stream in about 90 seconds. Going once. Going twice. All right, nobody here. And with that, I will be back tomorrow. cliffravenscraft.com/join. Schedule is there. I will be here starting at 1 p.m. JR actually says, here, there it is. I am. Thanks for responding. You're welcome, JR. Glad to hear that you got the answer to the question you posted. Thank you for posting it in there. I will be here tomorrow starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you would like to have a conversation with me about anything, specifically if there's anything you're trying to achieve or attain in life that's not currently a part of your existence, a part of your day-to-day experience of life, I'd love to help you, encourage you, support you in any way I can. Also, if you just want to join me and have a conversation, you weren't able to do it today, but maybe you're watching the live stream and you weren't able to join, or you're watching the replay and you'd like to join, come and join me. cliffravenscraft.com/join. I'll have a Zoom room open for you. Sometimes people come and there's an entire group of people inside a Zoom and not everybody is able to get in. Not because I don't stay around and hang out long enough. It's just that sometimes it's like, okay, I waited for about 25 minutes and I need to go and do other things. And so they didn't have time to wait. If you ever are in a situation like that, feel free to email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and we can prioritize you at the beginning of one of these streams in the future. So definitely happy to do that. And if you are interested in the Free the Dream Workshop, freethedreamworkshop.com. That's all I'm going to say about that. freethedreamworkshop.com. Until next time, I encourage you to find all of the peace, love, joy, fulfillment, and everything you've ever wanted out of life. All of that is available within you. And until next time, be well.